So they just told us everything about BF6. I think my immediate takeaway from this, though, is that this game is not launching anytime soon. The footage they showed us from Evo, they said that they didn't even plan to show us, right? And then since then, it's been like 2 months and they still don't have any new footage that they want to show us. And a lot of the systems that they talked about here, they described it in a way of like, this is what we're building. And so to me, that's like they have an idea and they're trying to get there, but they're not there yet. So they're still figuring some of the stuff out. But they did talk to us about 3 new systems, right? So one of them is called Flow Guard, which was their blue just frame defense kind of thing going on. And we don't know anything about how you do it or anything like that. But this is what we saw from the very first trailer where they showed the different blocks for each hit of the string that you're blocking. So they're trying to highlight with animation different ways to make the fight look more realistic, right? So whether it's during the blocks or from dodging attacks like highs and strings, they're trying to use animations that are distinct for those, which sounds like a ton of work, but they're doing it, right? And it does look very, very cool in action, right? So that's what they're doing here. So Flow Guard, that's their new defensive system. They said it's going to have some kind of benefit to it as well, but they didn't describe what. So it sounds like it's going to be like more frame advantage or something like that, right? Separately, they have this new thing called Break and Rush system, where it's body-specific damage that accumulates over time and carries over rounds. So they said it's 3 body parts: head, body, and legs. And then they just said that, say for example, you're getting hit in the face repeatedly, all of a sudden your head gets that red thing that not Sarah's face had, and then the next hit of it breaks it, and you're like, oh, there it is, big moment, right? Like if you're a person whose face is red, you're like, oh no, I gotta block my face, right? So it's actually pretty interesting for a 3D fighter to have that, because you'll know exactly what to target, and that's going to play an effect on your opponent's defense as well, right? So I think that system is pretty interesting, specifically for 3D fighting. I think that's a pretty cool idea. Whether it actually plays out well, that's a whole nother story, but it's an interesting idea. And then lastly, they have the stunner and stun combos, which are just like a stun combo, which is like you combo on the ground without launching them up. So games have had this before, so this is like an extension of that system in some way. But the more important thing they said about it was that the traditional float combos that you're used to from VF games and Tekken games, etc., those ones will still exist, but they will be less common. So the primary combos you're going to get in this game are going to be the grounded stunner and stun combos that they showed us here. So to me, that's a pretty big difference. And VF's floatiness has always like looked a little bit odd to me coming from Tekken. And Tekken's is like extreme floatiness, right? And that looked very odd to some people. So they're avoiding both of those crowds that don't like either of those things. They're saying, hey, you want to play a fighting game? Just beat them up on the floor. Like that's what you expect, right? So I thought that was pretty neat. It's an interesting idea. Whether it works or not, we'll see. And then the last thing they showed us was this right here, signature cuts. And this one is like they said they want to provide pain moments in the match or whatever. And they showed this tooth flying out. They said they want to do more, but it sounded like also they're scared because they know that it's hard to do a ton of these for a ton of characters in the game, etc. So, they want to do more. But I think the more interesting part about that conversation was just that they said that they didn't want to have super combos like 2D games have, right? They felt like that didn't fit in with the legacy of Virtua Fighter. So instead of that, they still want to have some kind of moment that's impactful. And so this is kind of what they're working with. So it's pretty interesting because I was really concerned about how they were going to make the game more accessible to people because this game hasn't been updated in like 20 years. So how are they going to go from, here's this game that everyone says is hard to play, and now we're going to bring it out 20 years later to a completely new audience? How are they going to enjoy it, right? So it's a pretty interesting idea that they're still trying to respect the legacy without like going overboard. Because I think an easy way to do it would have just been like add heat mechanics and add supers, et cetera, et cetera. And instead, they're like, no, we're going to keep this Virtua Fighter. So I think that's a good sign if you guys are actual like hardcore VF enjoyers. I think that's good news. And then the crazy Q&A they said easy controls. And they said they think that, obviously VF's already a pretty easy game. There's only 3 buttons in it. But that was back in the arcade days. And so now they're building it with controller. So pad being the primary device that they want and expect people to play on, right? So this is what they're building this game for. And what does that mean exactly? I have no idea, right? No idea. But I think that part of the issue people have with Virtua Fighter being difficult, quote unquote, is that they say 3 buttons at the same time is hard to do. So maybe there won't be 3 button inputs anymore because this is what they expect people to play on, right? On an arcade controller, hitting 3 buttons on those giant, 32, 24 millimeter buttons, no problem. Little pad button, 3 at a time, that's kind of hard. So that might be one of the things that they change here. They also were asked about holding back to guard, and the answer to the game was so BS. It was just, maybe in the future, later as an option, maybe. We want as many people to play the game as possible. That's not happening. There's no way. They were talking about how they wanted to make the movement easier. How are you going to have a 3D movement game with holding back to block like that, and then also make it easier to play? Like, I don't know. You kind of have to decide while building it, right? I don't know. It seems kind of extreme. And then the other, Tokido asked him one more question. He was like, VF2 is a big social moment. How do you guys see VF coming back now? Do you think it's coming to reclaim its throne or anything? And then they were like, we want to go over the framework of what makes a fighting game, basically. Go even further beyond. So I can see what they're trying to do with that, right? And it's really subtle. It's just like, when you're blocking these things, we want it to look like you're blocking. We want you to look like you're dodging those attacks, right? And they want to push fighting games beyond just like, Hadouken and jump over and whatever. So, and then that's not like trying to throw shade at like a 2D fighter. I'm just saying in general, like that's his idea of how he wants to push fighting games as a 3D fighter and overcome the limitations of the genre, basically. So outside of that, though, I think that he said the most important thing is that the game is fun, and I think he understands that. So that's also, I think, super duper important. So yeah, real hopeful. I want to see what's next. I completely agree. There's a lot of good signs here, but I am concerned about like how they're going to bring in the audience, and also very concerned about when this game is coming out, because it doesn't seem anytime near. I'm like right now, it's looking like a 2027 game to me. So it's pretty far out. The fact that they didn't want to show anything at EVO, and then they showed the same EVO footage again now, just in slow-mo and reruns and etc. And then they just told us about it now, 2 months later, and they're still talking about it as if they're still building it. And then even the teaser they showed us at the end was crazy, bro. The teaser at the end was crazy. They're like, hey, you guys want a surprise video? Remember last time we showed you that, like, what is it? Like a overlay of some guy with a bun on his head? Check this out. Pre-rendered footage. There's that guy walking away with his back and gone. That was insane. That was insane. So anyways, still excited about this new Virtua Fighter project, but it clearly is nowhere near. If I had to predict something, I'd say 2027, chat. I think this game's coming in 2027. I don't see it anytime sooner than that. But yeah, it was a good show. It was a good show. I'm excited to see what they come up with. Virtua Fighter. Boom. I haven't made a YouTube video in a minute. This might go into the YouTube channel. Make sure you guys click subscribe and follow and leave comments. Let me know what you guys think about Virtua Fighter and what you want to see in it, and whether they should respect the legacy or if they should add chainsaws to characters or whatever. Let me know. Boom.